Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Northern Kentucky Spotlight Podcast, presented by CVG. I'm your host, Sarah Brookbank. Thank you all for joining us on this Tuesday. Today on the podcast, we are going to be joined by Merle Heckman of Dale Carnegie, who highlights how his organization is helping leaders with confidence building and business effectiveness. On NKY at Work, Nancy Spivey talks with Teresa Tanner of Reserve Squad about gender equity in the workplace by way of creating a supportive and flexible workforce. Thank you to our podcast sponsors, CVG, our title sponsor, C-Crew Consulting, our digital sponsor, and our episode sponsor, Haram. We have a number of exciting opportunities open at the Northern Kentucky Chamber of Commerce right now that you can apply for, from speaking opportunities to awards and open leadership programs. So let's dive in. There's a lot to get into. Applications are currently open for the 2024 Regional Youth Leadership Class. Students in Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati who will be high school juniors during the 2023-2024 school year are invited to apply for the 7-month leadership program. Applications for RYL close on February 1st. We are also seeking Board of Directors nominations through Friday, February 17th. Members of the Northern Kentucky Chamber's Board of Directors are elected representatives of our Chamber's general membership and have the ultimate responsibility for Northern Kentucky Chamber operations. Additionally, we are seeking speakers for the upcoming DEI Summit, powered by Fifth Third Bank and co-hosted by St. Elizabeth. Speakers with expertise in diversity, equity, inclusion, and advancement are needed to lead breakout sessions for investing in equity, building an inclusive region happening this summer. Applications are due by Friday, February 17th. We also have nominations open for a number of awards, including the Outstanding Women of Northern Kentucky Awards. These awards honor women who exemplify notable achievement and outstanding service in their profession or to the Northern Kentucky community. Nominations for that program are open through February 24th. We also have applications open for the Business Impact Awards presented by Huntington Bank. This annual awards ceremony recognizes and celebrates businesses and leaders making an impact in Northern Kentucky. Those applications are also accepted through February 24th. Like I said, that's a lot to go through. You can learn more about all of these programs on our website at nkychamber.com. Now, let's go meet our members of the week, hear from our sponsors, and Nancy and I will be back here with your guests.
CVG Airport is the lowest fare airport in the tri-state region with 54 nonstop flights and direct international service to 7 destinations, including Paris, France, and now home to both DHL's and Amazon's global cargo hubs. The airport is furthering its position as leader in aviation and is deeply committed to being an economic driver for the community. You can learn more and start your next adventure at cvgairport.com.
Ranking on Google Search and Maps is easy to understand, but hard to do. It requires constant effort and attention, uploading new photos, responding to Google reviews, writing weekly posts, and checking suggested updates. Google listing optimization takes experience and time, and there are no shortcuts. C-Crew gives your Google My Business account the steady, consistent attention it needs to be effective, optimizing, updating, and expanding critical content every single week. From local retail stores to large regional networks, C-Crew generates content, establishes benchmarks, and creates dramatic, measurable increases in engagement. So what can C-Crew do for your business? More calls, more clicks, more clients.
Congratulations to our members of the week. You can learn more about these businesses by following the Northern Kentucky Chamber on social media, where we will highlight one of these businesses each day. Now, let's meet our members of the week. Travel Now by Jenny is a full-service travel agency based in Fort Mitchell. Stages Elder Law and Estate Planning is a care-focused law firm working with clients to make estate plans, care plans, or address a crisis. Pork and Crust Bellevue is an upscale casual restaurant in the Bellevue Entertainment District serving up gourmet pizzas, salads, and appetizers. Compass Emergency Physicians, PSC, is an emergency medicine physician group that staffs emergency departments across Northern Kentucky. Hi everyone, I am joined by Merle Heckman. He is a master trainer and consultant at Dale Carnegie. So we're going to have a very cool episode talking about Dale Carnegie. So Merle, tell us a little bit about you and your organization.
Sure. Well, Sarah, I've been associated with the Dale Carnegie organization for about 15 years now. As what we would call an avocational trainer, I would train the evenings, and then digitally I would train somewhat during the day. But within the last year, I've started working more full-time in consulting with businesses, training a lot face-to-face and also digitally.
Yeah. And so tell us about like what kind of trainings you guys do.
Yeah, the type of training that we give is very people-oriented. We teach organizations how they can maximize the best out of their employees, how they can set the environment so that people want to work. We always say, as a matter of fact, Sarah, that we teach people how to reduce the amount of resistance that people have when bosses say, do this, do this, do this. We teach ways to help that be reduced with a pushback so that people want to do things and help them. We help people be better leaders.
Yeah, and you guys have a philosophy of training. Is that what that is, or is that something completely different?
Well, our philosophy is first of all, it should be very practical. Mm-hmm. It should be people-focused. But also in our training, we are very attuned to the idea of how do we make long-term changes. We do not want to be an organization that just comes in, teaches, and see you later, bye. Ideally, we like to partnership with the organization that we get to know them better and we get to understand them so that we fit to support their position. The other thing we do in our philosophy of helping people to change is we're looking for performance change long term. A part of that is we have to have a change of behavior. But a part of that is that we have to have a change of mental mindset. So we work on the idea of helping people to be what they need to be so they can do what they need to do so they can get the results they want.
Yeah, and that's really incredible, especially when we talk in this world of recruitment and retention of employees. I'm sure you guys focus a lot about that with these organizations you're working with.
Yeah, because we're finding that retention isn't just how much we pay. Mm-hmm. And most of us like to focus on that. Well, if only I paid more. But there is so much more to keeping people than just the amount of pay. It's whether they're respected. It's whether they get responsibility. There are all these things that we teach leaders how to do in their day-by-day activities.
Yeah, that sounds great. And you have 4 main courses that you guys teach. Can you touch on those a little bit?
Sure. We have, first of all, the flagship course, we call it, the Dale Carnegie course. That's the one that's been around many, many years, and that's the one that is truly a leadership course because we're teaching people how to build the relationship with employees, then how to build collaboration and openness where employees work together, and then finally, once those are in place, how to really lead. How do you guide humans who make mistakes, who have aspirations? How do you do that effectively? And so that's what that course is all about. Mm-hmm. Another course that we offer is in leadership training. We have a couple of those, one for newer leaders and then one for folks who've been in leadership roles a long time. And again, much of that is more of this is how you organize. This is how you guide your organization. The third course, which is one of our most popular ones, is a 2-day course called High Impact Presentations. And in those 2 days, people make 7 different presentations, each of them recorded, and then we look for what they do well and one thing each presentation that they could do better the next time. Pretty amazing transformation from the first morning to the last one of seeing them on video to see how they progress.
I can imagine. I know personally from watching podcast videos, I often say, oh, that's something I can do better. Right. So I'm sure with people who are doing presentations all the time, just to, like you said, high impact.
It's for people who are brand new at public speaking, or we even find people, attorneys, executives, that are always in front. It gives them a chance to really tweak those areas and refine their skills. And then the fourth course is on sales. We teach relationship selling and how to make connections, build trust, and really how to dig into the relationship process of sales. It's not just being best buddies or, oh, that's a nice fish you got up on the wall, but it's earning the trust of those people to find out what their needs are and helping them. We offer a lot of other shorter courses, but those are the main 4 we do.
So what makes Dale Carnegie different than other training organizations that are out there? Because there are so many companies that offer leadership trainings and all sorts of different things.
They're a dime a dozen. They really are. We would tell you that more than just a training company, we are a culture-changing company. Because our goal, Sarah, is not just to say, okay, here's a class, check it off your list, check the box that you did. Our goal is to work to change the internal culture, the way things are around the organization. When there is a culture change, that's when the organization really benefits. It's a deeper change than just, I took a course on how to talk to people, or I took a course on how to organize. Much more than that.
Yeah, and Dale Carnegie would know, because you guys have been around for more than 100 years.
110 years. Dale Carnegie started this organization in New York City, and he just saw a need. At that time, it was among people who were scared to make presentations, who were terrified of it. So he really went after that and started teaching that, and then he learned, and he said in his writings, 110 years ago, people struggled with how to interact with other human beings. And through the years, we've consistently found that to be. So those courses have developed, went across the world, all different languages, and so that's really where it's got its humble beginnings.
Yeah, and that's very cool that you are a part of this organization that's been around for so long. You personally and the people that you have worked with, what kind of things do you hear from your graduates of your programs? I know that's something you wanted to talk about. You have a lot of success stories.
Yeah, probably our famous one is Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett tells the story that when he was just bashful, he couldn't even stand up, speak in front of people without throwing up. But he took a Carnegie class, and that literally redirected his life. And evidently, in his office, he does not have his diplomas from different universities. He has one certificate up on the wall, the certificate he got for completing the Dale Carnegie course.
That is incredible.
And then I just hear stories often, Sarah. I was on the phone yesterday with a gentleman in New York City, and I was asking him how he got involved with the Carnegie organization. He owned a franchise. And he said, a few years ago, I met a gentleman who was wanting to rent an office from me. And he said, this gentleman just knew how to talk and was pleasant, was upbeat. I said, how'd you learn to do that? And he says, I took this course from a guy named Dale Carnegie. And I have run into those over and over again through the years. This past few months ago, I was in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, presenting a class. And it was actually a class to teenagers, because we have a teenage version of this. And for their graduation, this young lady said, my grandpa's going to come to graduation, and you're going to want to meet him because he wants to meet you. And I said, okay. So he came there. He had taken a Carnegie class 50 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And he still had a little pencil that we used to give out them when they'd get voted on an award. He still had this, and he says, this course changed my life. And that's what we run into over and over again. People who are just say, there's a new lifestyle, a better lifestyle of how to interact at work, home, all my relationships.
Yeah. Typically, this is the point in the podcast where I ask people, like, what's the selling point? I think you just sold it.
Okay.
But one of the other things I know you wanted to talk about, there are a lot of materials and books associated with Dale Carnegie that you wanted to shout out to our podcast viewers.
Yeah, I would just say the foundational book is Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And that's the book where he introduces 30 human relation principles. And sometimes people will read these and say, well, this is just common sense. And to that I would reply, but it's not always common practice. It's simple principles like do not criticize, condemn, or complain. Be a good listener. Let the other person talk about themselves. Make the other person feel important. Do it sincerely. And other principles like that he weaves in stories and examples of how that's practical. The other book that has been a classic for Carnegie is a book called How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. It's because Carnegie himself was a worrywart. He was easily worried. And he said there is no good book to help people with that. So he hired researchers who talked to business people, psychologists, clergymen, counselors, people, and said, what tips do you give about dealing with stress and dealing with worry? And he weaved those together into a book. So those are the two primary ones.
Yeah, and that's definitely something I know a lot of people in the new year always say, what books can I read to help me get my year off right? Those are two great examples of things that people can use.
How to Win Friends has probably is probably considered one of the top 10 business books of all time, depending on which poll you read.
Yeah.
But it's very practical and very helpful to people.
Yeah. And Merle, you have touched on so much about your organization and how it can help people. How can people get in touch with you?
I believe you'll have in the notes, there's a link that talks about our local franchise, because we own the franchise in throughout Kentucky, Southern Ohio, Southern Indiana. So that's it. There's a good link there. Or they can just go to dalecarnegie.com and find out more information there.
Great. And Merle, before I let you go, because I'm sure you have a busy day, is there anything else you want to say to our podcast listeners and viewers?
And I appreciate this opportunity, but I would say to all the folks there that as you're thinking about your organization and you're thinking about your own personal growth, if you say, I need to take a step forward, we need to make this organization, it's good, but we could make it even better. I would challenge you to invest your time and your organization's resources in a culture change to help you be more effective, more efficient, keep your employees, and reach the goals you're aiming for.
All right. Well, Merle, thank you again so much for joining us today.
Great. Thank you.
Hi, this is Nancy Spivey, and I'm Vice President of Talent Strategies for the Northern Kentucky Chamber of Commerce. And we're here today with Teresa Tanner. Teresa, let's talk about Reserve Squad. Tell me a little bit about the company and the premise. Help me understand that.
Yeah, sure. So Reserve Squad, we just finished our second year. I can't believe it.
Wow.
I left corporate America about 3 years ago with kind of a fire in my belly to think about workforce of the future, really connect the entire workforce with meaningful work. And one of the things that I saw when I was an executive in my previous role was so often women were dropping out of the workforce and having a hard time coming back. And moreover, they were also having a hard time staying connected to their company and keeping kind of a foot in the game and keeping their skills up to date. So I launched this company to connect employers with this valuable talent, keeping them engaged at, all stages of their journey.
So basically, you work with individuals that are looking for work,
Right.
and wanting a different type of structure around work. Is that right?
Yeah. So often, we work with people that need kind of a freelance work style. So a lot of remote, not all remote. A lot of people want to and can work on site, but they may need a lot more flexibility than a traditional work schedule would allow. So, for a company that is used to having Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, they may not be able to fit in that box, but they can do a lot of other things. And some of them can work, a lot of our employees or reservists can work, 30 or 40 hours a week. They just need some non-traditional approaches to work.
So do you carry the employees then, and then a company would work directly with Reserve Squad on filling their needs? So flexible needs, temporary, permanent needs, is that kind of all the gamut?
That's right. They are on our payroll. They are reservists with us.
Okay.
And then that's for small and medium businesses. So for small and medium-sized businesses, we just connect this valuable talent with the employer and the job opportunities. And that can be, again, anywhere from flexible full-time to project-based, short-term, coverage, all kinds of different things that a company might need, maybe just a small project here and there. But we connect those reservists with that talent. Now, for large companies, we kind of build their in-house staffing firm, their reserve squad for them, and they can set it up then for a benefit for their employees. So if they've got thousands of employees and, they've got women and men who may need to pause their careers for a time, they can come over into reserve with the company. I continue to manage them, keep their skills updated, keep them connected to the company, and then the company can, again, use them for short-term staffing and welcome them back when they're ready to come back. So it's also a retention play for those companies. So, we have kind of a reserve squad for small and medium business, which is really a lot of just the direct connecting those valuable resources to the company's needs. And then for large companies, they can build their own custom reserve squad, bring that reserve squad in-house, and then stand it up as a benefit for their current employees while having a new innovative talent solution.
I love the model. To me, it makes perfect sense. It's very non-traditional, but also very needed in the community.
Yes.
So help me understand, if I'm an employer, what's the value to me in doing this and setting this structure up?
Oh, so much. So, for a large employer who wants to set their own reserve squad up, first of all, it's a retention play, right? It is, we always want this gender equity, and we want gender equity at every level of the company. But, statistics say about 40% of women will pause their career at some point. So you have that leaky pipeline. So you've got these women that you've invested in that are contributing to their company and they decide to stay home. Well, the research also says that 74% of that population want to come back into traditional work. So if you know this is just a moment in time, stay in relationship with them. Keep that pipeline moving instead of losing it.
Yes.
And then, oh, by the way, while they're in reserve status, you can still leverage them for special projects, temporary needs, the things that we just talked about.
Sure.
Because what we found during our research is that most women and men who step out for a period of time would love a way to keep a foot in the door and to keep a foot in the game. They just can't figure out how to use their professional skills in a schedule in a way that works for them and their families.
So you mentioned that you've been in business now for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, during the pandemic, I'm sure you probably didn't anticipate all that to happen.
Oh my goodness.
So what are some things you've learned and things that you feel like stand out to you as successes so far?
Yeah, and Nancy, that's just amazing to me. I saw this way before, we even knew what a pandemic would mean to us, right?
Right.
But, I knew that this was an issue with corporate America of, keeping that gender equity in the pipeline and growing and contributing in a way where they don't have to go backwards, right? Which is also, by the way, a driver of the wage gap between men and women. So we knew these problems existed. Then the pandemic hit, and I sat and watched millions of women just walk out of the workforce. They left the workforce. And I'm like, oh my gosh, if companies had this thing, we could say, wait, stop. Go into reserve with your company. This too shall pass. There might be a time where you want to come back. We want to make sure you come back to us. Let us walk that journey with you. And so the pandemic really, and I think just in so many ways, right? The pandemic had a very special way of kind of highlighting any current gap, right?
Yeah, definitely a wake-up call for a lot of us.
Anything that was a gap was completely highlighted and amplified during that time. And we saw it with employment and the inequities in employment for men versus women. And, I hope there will be a day where there is no disparate impact. But for today, we know that women are most often the caregivers for children and elderly parents and all of those things. And so when you have this challenge, it's often women that have to take a step back.
Okay, great. So you already mentioned that it's for small, medium, and larger employers, right?
We partner with all sizes.
Okay,
right,
so
right.
For more information, what do people do?
Oh, definitely go to reservesquad.com. Catch me on LinkedIn, message me. Would love to just talk with anyone. And we do the traditional staffing thing, but we're also just really working with companies on figuring out what a modern workforce looks like. And, the future of work is here. So we definitely connect them with reservists and jobs. But we also do a wide variety of talent partnerships.
Great. Now, it sounds like this is really customizable, right? This isn't just hey, I've got this product, come see me. You really start with a dialogue between the employer and yourself and kind of map out what their needs are and then try to meet their needs.
Right.
Is that right?
That's right. Yes.
Okay.
And we're seeing that with our clients now, right? So we start with the reservist solution, but then also as we just start partnering together, we see all kinds of different opportunities to continue to reinvent the culture, the workspace, create an environment where everybody can thrive. So we just have continued to expand our partnerships with our clients to look at the workforce in very broad ways and think about what work was going to look like in the future and how do we get ahead and be leaders in innovation and talent.
Great. Thank you very much, Teresa.
Yeah,
this is innovative and right on par for what we're dealing with in today's work climate. So
well, thanks for having me. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Shannon Schumacher, Account Executive, Kentucky Market Leader. At Haran, we champion bold innovation to help employers and individuals thrive. As an industry thought leader, we explore new horizons in healthcare, benefits, employee engagement, and wellness. We work harder to deliver all the strategic benefits, planning, and execution you expect from a true partner. And we do it with laser focus on your short and long-term outcomes to help manage your benefits while improving your employee experience.
Thank you all again for joining us today. I hope you gained some valuable insights from Merle and from Teresa. Thank you again to our podcast sponsors, CVG, Secret Consulting, and Haran. Don't forget to visit nkychamber.com or check out our social media channels to learn more about our open applications and nominations. Like I said, all of those ones I mentioned at the top of the podcast are open. Most of those close in February, so be sure to take a look at those soon. February will be here before we know it. Finally, if you are a member who'd like to be featured on the podcast, or if you're interested in becoming a member of the Northern Kentucky Chamber, please reach out to Lynn Ablam. Or if you're interested in sharing your workforce strategies and resources on NKY at Work, please reach out to Nancy Spivey. You can find their information on the screen in front of you or on our staff directory at nkychamber.com. Thank you all again for joining us. I will talk to you next week.